Right. Yeah. I think it'll be like, s- definitely it'll be shocking, right? I think almost all at least all the famous guys, like, um, Mark Cuban, um, I can't remember a few other ones. They all came out and say, yeah, the Fed needs to bail out. If not, yeah, 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 yeah. Because some of their firms or that they invest in also have problems with that. Yeah, for sure. Like I think it will be a big shock for sure. Of course, it's very secluded to startups and mostly maybe some tech firms or some crypto firms, stuff like that. But still, like it could devastate the innovation, right? They say, right? And so that could put, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. So this is like you look at the regional bank index, and you know big figure hit a low on Thursday, gap down. You can see my screen. No, let me share my screen. Hold on. Sorry, I forgot to share screen. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, take your time. No worries. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. No worries. Just let me know. We'll pause it. So yeah, see here, $56 was the low, and then Thursday it gapped down below it, and you know, and definitely this is all related to SVB news and Thursday and then Friday. Now the Friday, a lot of them bounced back from the bottom. Like it didn't recover fully. Volume is super high. Everyone's like selling. So yeah, it's hard to say whether this is like definitely there's lots of fear now, and I think even the CNN index is now in fearful territory, right? Like extreme fear now. It's like now below, it's at 24 now. So it's definitely lots of fear. We and then all the index are now below 200 day. So that's like a cue to short, right? So a lot of people probably starting Friday. That was a cue to short. So yeah, on the technical side, right now, the trend is bearish, and yeah, it's a like because right now it's falling below 200 day. Generally, when they fall hard below 200 day, it doesn't usually recover right away, unless some good news come out, right? And it could be very news driven right now. But what I'm trying to say is the downtrend will probably continue because, like I said, even if the Fed bail it out, like who's to say that the next bank not gonna have problem, and then the next bank, and then the next bank, right? Like it kind of remind me of '08 a lot. When one bank, start to have issue, you remember Bearston they bail out, right? And then less than a month later or something like that, Lehman start to have problem, and then they let that one fail. So who's to say that another bank not gonna have issue, right? So um, yeah, so it's scary times right now, I think, right? Because this is, and I kind of mentioned this. I thought about it like since our conversation like every weekend. As much as I'm a bull, And I still believe in a bull. Like I believe this is like um, temporarily. I don't think the Fed will let it fail. I think it's too big to fail. Um, and yeah, and also this is a good thing for the interest rate, right? Like the Fed is going to think hard about raising interest rate going forward. So they're going to be like, because this is a bigger problem now, right? Then like I mean, inflation is there, but it's not going to collapse anything. But this could collapse many things, right? So they have to do, yeah, yeah, they have to do whatever they can. Um, so um, so I think like knowing that they're going to do something, more likely is that this will get resolved and this will bring confidence back. And um, this is a blip, and then the Fed's gonna ease up, meaning going forward. Like they know, hey, we're really near, like we at a point where if we keep pushing harder on rates, things gonna even fall further apart, right? And you know, right now you're talking about all this high tech growth firms and startups and stuff. What about like traditional business, right? And then what about consumers and stuff? Like those are yet to come, and that's the thing we don't want to see. And because the chance of a recession is so high right now, um, that the Fed knows they just don't want to push it too far, right? Knowing that is coming, right? So um, so yeah, those are a few things that I recognized this week. But that with that being said, holding through this market is very tough, and I personally I don't recommend it, right? Like, cause unless you're a super long term, cause things could change very big, right? And there's a lot of risk right now, like holding it, right? Cause who knows? What if the Fed really don't want to bail them out? And I was listening to a Republican saying, hey, why should we bail them out? Like these are firms who are they take a lot of risks, and you know, now they fail, and why should we bail them out? Like, so, so there's a lot of politics too, right, behind this. So that's why, like, I'm not sure it will be resolved fast. That's the only problem I think. I think it will be eventually be resolved. I just don't know if it will be resolved fast enough, and that's the scary part. Um, so if no resolution by Monday morning, I think the market will crash. That's what I feel. Because people are just really scared of what will happen if this fell apart. And many people may even lose their jobs, right? If this is not resolved fast enough. Um, and then the big question is still, is there any contagion? Who's going to be impacted around this? And and those companies that have lost their money, how are they going to be impacted, right? Um, so it's still lots of questions to be answered. But of course, if it's just this bank, the impact won't be significant in terms of the overall economy. But if it's not just this bank, um, then so I heard Janet Yellen mention a few banks. She didn't say which name. She mentioned a few banks. So that's like so far we only know about this bank. And First Republic. Okay. Okay. So so yeah, so that's the scary part right now is we don't know the how contagion it is and how many banks are actually having this issue. For me, I'm just thinking like how like this can't be just a one bank thing, right? Like because every state, it's not just California or a few states. Every state has lots of startups and lots of companies who are not earning much revenue. So they're just, maybe got their first investment seed, and now they're trying to build their product and service. They're a startup, less than a few years old, and yeah. So if those ones are not doing well in California, then other ones not going to do well too. to me, it's not, to me, like the problem is not because of that bank. The problem is because of the environment, right? The environment of high interest rates and companies who are not making money, they just burning more cash. And when they're burning more cash, they're not able to pay back as much of their loan, whatever their payment is. And so, and that's the reason why all those banks are kind of short in cash, because they keep borrowing more money, and then they're not paying back as much. And who knows if there's any um like how do you say, like defaults and stuff, right? We don't even know about that yet. Like, our companies defaulting on their payments and so forth, right? So many unanswered questions. And the other thing that's like really shocking to me is the speed of how this happened. Like literally from Wednesday to Friday, right? That is crazy, right? Um, because if you look back in like '08, it took months. It wasn't days, right? It took months for those banks to even fall apart, and but this was like literally days, so that's scary to me. So it tells me that there's lots of unknowns, and the Fed is obviously going to understand better as soon as they go through all the balance sheet and all their financials and all their books, to find out what's going on here, and whether this is there any systemic risk here, like, not just within this bank, but again, what is it causing this problem? So to me, I never, like, wherever I hear some issues like this, and especially people running the bank too, right? Like, when's the last time you hear that, right? Like, probably in '08. And even then, in '08, it wasn't like I said, this quick, Um, yeah. Well, that's the thing, like why are everyone taking out their money? That's the bigger question to me, right? Like, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, big time. That's the reason why so many regional banks drop 15, 20, 25%, right, on Friday. Just one day, because of so much fear. And yeah, people are going to start withdrawing their money because they fear some, what if this other bank going to fail, right? And most of those banks are even way smaller than SVB, some of them, not as big. So it's definitely scary. And that's why, yeah, you're right. Like, this is a show that Fed have to do, but at the same time, I'm worried that they won't be able to do something so quick, right? Like I said, I don't know, it reminds me of '08. It took a long time for them to even help Burstons. Um, of course they pumped in some money at the beginning, but that wasn't enough, just to stop the bleeding, right? So so it's possible here they were like, hey, I'll lend you like, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 billion, just to stop the bleeding, right? And then wait, and then try to like help, restructure the company either through a sellout or something. Um, they could do that, but like I say, I'm just worried that they're not acting fast enough. We'll see. It's gonna be very interesting, how fast they can react to this and how they deal with it. So it's weird that today I didn't hear any news. So, like, you should be hearing news right now. Yeah, they're meeting, they're talking and they're discussing, and there's at least two companies on the table that are interested in talks to buy out. Like, nothing, like you should be hearing that right now. You're not hearing it. So I mean, sure, it could be secret, but really, there's no point of being secret right now. This is about how do you say yeah, much exactly, and also like bring up the confidence that hey, something's happening. The Fed is doing something, and if they're not, then like I said, people's gonna comes Monday morning, everyone's gonna go to the bank and withdraw money. Um, so we're gonna see more chaos, and that's why I said like the fear is may not be over, right? Like even though the stocks has dropped a lot, but the fear may not be over, and it's just panic selling right now. Because everyone just worried that hey, I don't know which bank is gonna go down next, and even some of these banks may be not having you know lots of like so they were talking a lot on IPD. They're talking a lot about Charles Schwab, which is one of the biggest investment broker, and it dropped like 20%, right, in just 2 days or something. Like it's literally like what? Why is that even happening, right? And that's the scary part. Um, you know, um, like all the financial firms got hit, right? Even IBKR, Interactive Brokers, got hit. It didn't get hit as hard as others, but still, it dropped to its 50-day. You know, I got stopped out of this, which sucks. But you gotta protect it, and you know, like who knows? It could go all the way to its 200 day. If like like I say, if there's enough. So far, we had like it feels bad, but it could be worse. Is what I'm trying to say. Um, you know, and if you look at, I even went back and looked at the CNN Greed and Fear Index, and I look at the timeline, and I look at every time it hit extreme fear, like so for example in like late April, May, when it hit extreme fear, it stays there for over a week at least, that one. And then I look back at the August one, it stayed at extreme fear for like probably 3 or 4 days there. So Friday was the first time we hit extreme fear. So first day. So what I'm trying to say is don't count it to end on one day, right? Like it might be 3 or 4 more days of this, of really extreme fear before it's over. And that could take, like, who knows how far that could take the index down and all the stocks. So um, they look cheap right now, but obviously they're cheap for a reason right now because everyone's just fearful. But yeah, for sure, when they climb back, they'll be worth it. You know, but again, it really depends on how Fed can handle this. If you look back in like '08, all these banks, right? And I wasn't into banks at that time. Like I didn't buy any banks, so I was okay. But so many banks, you thought like, oh, I keep dropping, and it just keep dropping forever. And like, you just say, how can like, I still remember Citigroup was like one of the worst one. Like it dropped 99%. Like all these big banks even, right? But not just small banks, regional banks. It's like even big banks, they keep dropping and drop, and you just don't see an end to it. Now, I'm not saying this is the same situation, like again, but it could get worse, right? Like that's the problem right now. It could get worse. Again, we don't know. I still don't know why. Really, what happened to SVB, right? Like there must be some sort of something because they have so much reserves, right? Where did all that reserve go all of a sudden? It didn't happen in like freaking months. It happened like really quick. So something must have happened, and no one know what happened, right? Because you can't have reserves gone so quick. So where is this money gone? Like yeah. Hmm. 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 Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. So, hmm, hmm, yeah. So yeah, that's the thing, right? Like that's the thing that that's fearful. I think at this moment is like how, yeah. Hmm, hmm, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So that like because like from what I read, it's like most of the money was put on mortgage-backed securities, and that was the same thing that caused '08 crash. So if this is the same scenario, like there's no difference in my opinion, right? Like why is there a difference? Yeah. So yeah, and as far as I remember, '08, what caused the MBS to go down is because people couldn't pay their mortgages. And so is that happening right now? Is that why the MBS is dropping so much? You know, like I don't know. That's a good question, right? Like are people having problems with their mortgages, right? Is that causing the problem in the mortgage-backed securities? Because that's exactly what happened in '08, right? Um, And so like I say, I think the story behind this, the actual fundamentals that causing all this, like I'm not talking about the SVB itself. I'm talking about like the investments that they have. Are those like what's causing those to drop so much, right? That's what I'm trying to understand. You know, is there a fundamental problem there? In on Tuesday and Wednesdays, Fed Powell testimonial, I was surprised how many Congress member asked the same question. They keep saying the same thing. 2 million households right now is having problem paying their mortgages because of interest rates, and they keep asking Powell, is like, how are you going to solve this problem? You know, and 2 million doesn't seem like a lot, okay, but it could spark something. Like if this is the beginning, it could be worse, right? It could get worse, And so if you keep raising interest rate, it's not going to get better, right? So there's two things that work against those people, right? One is time, because as time goes on, they're just going to owe more interest if they're already behind, right? And then the second thing is if they raise it even more, then they're just going to owe even more money. So right now we're talking about 2 million people. Like no one really knows how many people is gonna, by the end of this year, let's say, right? It's gonna get worse and worse, and and then it's gonna blow up. I think during the '08 it was roughly 10 million. I think I can't remember the numbers. It was like around 10 million households couldn't pay, and then the crash happened, right? Um, so right now, like I said, we could be at the beginning stage. And like I said, I was really surprised how many Congress members keep asking the same question, and he basically doesn't have an answer for that. And that's the sad part, I think. Um, you know, eh. Oh, okay, 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 yeah, yeah. Well, oh, okay. Yeah, like for sure, like I said, SVP is, I understand what most analysts say. It is unique on its own. It has a different clientele and so forth. And most of them are like startup or venture capitalist type of company, funded and stuff. I understand that part. Um, but what I don't understand is how they mismanage this, right? Um, and and I understand that people run the bank and stuff. Like I understand all that, but it's just the fact that they didn't see this coming. Is what I'm like. Why didn't they see this coming? Right? Like you know, and the speed at what happened. Some people say, oh, some of the venture capitalists kind of gang up against them, right? But to me, there's no reason for them to gang up against them because this this is not on their interest for this to happen, right? They're the one who have money with you. Why would they want to like even do that? Like, sure, some of them got out and get all the money already. Like, I think they said Thursday 42 billion was withdrawal. So, but but what like again, like my point is like, why didn't they see this coming? And yeah, to me, like I said, something is weird. I don't know what it is. I just don't feel good about this. I don't. It's kind of like the FTX thing, right? Like it didn't happen by chance. Something has happened that caused this. I don't want to say fraud, but I don't want to say like it's too early to jump to that conclusion. But I'm just saying like somebody makes some bad decisions or something fundamental bad has happened. One of those two. Okay, I don't know which one it is. We'll know over coming days or week. Um, but that's scary. That's the scary part. You know. And yeah, I don't even know what else to say. Like for me, I'm looking at the market right now from a very like try to look at it from a far perspective. Like I don't want to get too close to it. Like I said, as much as like well, first of all, like all the stocks kind of dropped already. Like there's no really not many stocks standing up right now. Everything's getting pulled down. You can look at which ones get pulled down the least. For example, I think like a lot of people saw how semiconductors are doing pretty well till Thursday, and then it finally dropped on reversed on Thursday and dropped on Friday, really really hard. Um, but still overall it's still performing relatively strong. Like the RS line is still like at the high. So if the market were to rebound from here, most likely they're gonna lead. The semiconductors. So that's something to pay attention to. It's still above 50-day line. If it bounces from here, it will be exact like it might even cross the 50-day line, let's say on Monday morning, and then maybe bounce back up. But here's the thing, right? Like this is an environment where like catching a falling knife can hurt you because you don't know how far it will go and how deep it will go, right? Even though, like I said, it might be the strongest sector, but still, like, do you want to catch a falling knife? Like, it could drop another 10-15% before a rebound, and then the rest of the market could drop even more. So it's one of those situations. Like for me, it's like and a lot of analysts were saying that on Friday. It's like sell first, ask questions later, right? Sell first, ask questions later. Don't like because if you ask questions right now, you don't have the answers to. So if you wait and you wait and you wait, you could lose another, I don't know, 10, depending what stocks you own, you could lose 10, 20, 30%. Like for example, you own the banks right now. Yeah, it probably not a big deal, but do you want to wait for that? Before do you want to wait for the answer? By the time that you have the answer, you might already drop way more than you think. So this is, like I said, this is not an environment to try to catch a falling knife. Like, I would much rather buy on a little bit more price later than trying to catch it right now. If you have stocks that's still holding on and hasn't hit your stop loss, sure, you can think about continue to hold it. But for me, I'm not like trying to catch a falling knife here, thinking like I can buy it cheap here. But who knows? You could drop a lot more, and everything technically doesn't look good right now. Um, but yeah, like there's always contrarian, right? Like there's always a potential that it's oversold right now, that it could bounce pretty hard too, right? So it is a gamble. If for me, I'm roughly 30 something percent left, like one third maybe left. Um, you know, and I only have a few holdings now instead of like more than 10 before. So it's very hard to hold in this environment. And yeah, yeah, what do you think? Hmm. Um, mm, mm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It'll be a big mess, and yeah. So that's logistically that's a big mess. But fundamentally, I think the big problem is still like how they're gonna resolve this, how they're gonna, I'm trying to think back in '08, right? Like literally, the only solution was the Fed pumping in money. At least some, like in the short term, at least something to stop the bleeding, right? Saying, hey, people can still get their money, right? Like I say, I don't know how much they're gonna need, like because already 40 something billion on the withdraw. But let's just say they come in and they say, hey, they guarantee every dollar, um, every depositor their full amount. Then obviously no one's gonna withdraw money anymore because the Fed has guaranteed it. You see what I'm saying? So like there's no other solution. That's what happened in '08. Until you guarantee the money will be paid back, or guarantee for you, then the only reason people are pulling out money is because they worry they won't get the money. But if the Fed comes in and say, hey, we'll guarantee every dollar you deposit that you have deposited, then like yeah, the creditors, I don't know, that's a different thing. But the depositors, at least, right? And that will stabilize, the whole situation. And to me, there's no other solution because I really highly doubt any bank will take over this bank right now because they just don't understand what the risk is, right? And you know, It's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. There's always a chance, but I think it's unlikely. Knowing like especially when we go into recession, companies that don't make money, they have high risk, right? So and then we still have inflation. So like everything is working against a startup right now. It's very hard to be a startup company right now. And then after this situation, is gonna people, no one is gonna think they're even gonna think twice about investing in the company now, because it's not just about the bank. It's also like just in general, the environment is not very good, right, for startups right now. Um, like unless of course you have a super idea and someone really want to invest in you, that's different. But in most cases, it's probably now 10 companies are probably not the best ideas, and so they're gonna have a hard time. So from a like I said, from an investment standpoint, why would anyone take over SVB when you know most of them will probably fail? Going into a recession environment. So and now that you know and that's like I said, this it's almost like I said, like the for the longest time many analysts have been saying the same thing, which is Fed was just going to raise rates until something break, and this finally happened. Something has broke, and now the Fed now has to fix it. And so really, that's so the good sign is, I think, as long as this doesn't lead into any systemic risk, and the Fed is able to resolve this pretty quickly, I think the damage will be limited, and then the market will roar. I really believe that, because Fed is not going to like raise interest rate that much anymore. I think um, right now it's still priced for, I think, 25 points, right? Three more times, but I think in coming weeks, I think like look at the bond yield, right? The bond yield dropped so much on Friday. It's not even like, it's so crazy. I think it was the biggest drop in a long time. Uh, yeah, yeah. So it's the biggest drop in a long time, and so um, yeah. So anyone who bought bonds in a week ago or to a month ago, they're all laughing right now, because that was the best time to buy it. And now bond prices have gone up, but yields have gone down. But at least you bought the bonds at a cheaper price. And yeah, so it's all good now. And basically, this is telling the market that, hey, things are not great. Things are getting worse. So the Fed shouldn't raise rates anymore. And if anything, if this continue to go down, it really tells them like there's a really high chance of recession soon, right? And this could happen like immediately. If you look back at '08, how fast the economy turned, it was insane. As soon as Bearston, which was the first fund to have issued in like June '08, like by September, everything crashed. It was like less than 3 months. Lehman Brothers crashed, AIG crashed, everything crashed. I still remember all the auto companies crashed, like everything in 3 months, right? So how fast it happened is almost miraculous. So uh, it is scary time right now. But once we pass through this, like I said, the bright side is on the other side. And I think Fed will even start, not even raise rate. They might even start easing rates going forward. Um, the only like so Friday the job number was higher, but the reason why market was green all morning was because the wage inflation was the lowest in over a year, 0.2%, which is normal. So again, that was the one of the things that Fed wanted to see, was the wage inflation doesn't grow too fast, or at least normal, and that's exactly what they got. So so going forward, like I said, I won't be surprised, depending on, like, what issues, like if this crisis get worse, there won't be no more rates hike. I really believe that. I don't think they can. I don't think they even want to cause more panic. I think they just want to solve this problem first, and who knows, this could you know lead to more problems. But like I said, if Fed comes out and just say they guarantee every dollar, I see the market roar from here right away. Um, but I don't know if they'll do that. No one knows. Like I said, by now I should be here seeing some CNBC news that, hey, they're talking right now, but I'm not seeing anything online. So uh, you know, instead you see more negative news. I just see this right now. Silicon Valley Bank employees receive bonus hours before government take over. Oh my God. Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's very bad. And like I say, I think, yeah, I don't think any sector is, even. I think Friday they say 90% down volume. Usually when you have that, usually you have a bottom. But like I say, be careful because this is a macro news, and it's a sudden news. It could be you think it's oversold, but it could even go further. It could be extreme oversell, and so because the news are still developing, right? And so unless like I say something macro changes, but like I say that's taking a gamble. So if and if you think there's no problem, then yeah, for sure if you holding for long term might be a good thing. But how do you know there's no problem in the bank sector right now? I don't know. Um, that's a you know that's a hard thing to do, I think. Um, yeah, and right now because it's like so exacerbated that any bad news, index will fall. Like honestly, I don't even think the index has fallen that hard yet, except for the regional bank one, right? Most like even on Friday, well, Nasdaq was down only 1.5%, right? Um, which is unusual. Like I thought it might drop even more, but it didn't. But yeah, they all undercut. Um, you know, uh, the 50-day, 200-day. So um, yeah, yeah, 1.76% on Friday for Nasdaq. S&P was 1.45%. But like you would think, like with so much news, like the bad news like this, you would think it would drop easily over 2 or even close to 3%. But it's not happening. So that's a good sign. But at the same time, like the market is very good at fooling people, thinking that hey, maybe things are not as bad. Index only dropped less than 2% or 1.5%, right? You're like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. But you know, but if it fall 5, 6, 7, 8 days straight and drop like 2%, it actually add up to 20%. You know what I'm trying to say? So don't just think, oh, it has to be like a crash, right? Like a lot of people are looking for that crash so that they can like turn contrarian. Don't think that way, right? Because this could be a slow pain death, kind of thing, right? And like I said, the news are so fresh. Everyone's like, it's because everyone just don't even understand the situation right now. And I honestly don't think the Fed will be able to resolve this that fast. I just don't feel it. Um, you know, maybe if they come out, like I say, if they really come out and guarantee every dollar of the depositor, yeah, market will roar on Monday. But I don't know if it doesn't happen. Like I'll be the first buyer if that happens. But if that doesn't happen, then yeah, I can easily see. I don't want to say S&P will test the lows of October, but it could come close to it. You know what I'm saying? Right now it's 30. What was it? It closed 38.61, and the low was near 3,500. I mean that's like almost 10%. So uh, will it test that low? It depends how the Fed handle it in the next week, I think. And that's it. So far, I don't have any confidence. And of course now the Fed has full access to their books, right? So they like I say they can study everything. They can study what was the reason why this is happening. They know everything. And then, but I feel like even then, let's say other banks, for example, let's say other banks like you mentioned, First Republic or any other bank, if they're gonna have issues, are Fed gonna because in '08 that's what they didn't do that. When Bearston went down at the beginning, they didn't even though they bailed them out, they didn't go study other banks, right? They didn't go, hey, Lehman Brothers or Morgan Stanley or like, do you guys have the same problem? They didn't. That was the funny thing. So I hope they don't do that. I hope they go actually like learn what other banks are doing. Are they doing the same thing and try to resolve it as soon as possible rather than delay it? I don't know. I don't know. history always repeats itself in some ways, and I fear that the Fed is going to do the same thing again. But it all depends on what the fundamental problem is, and but with interest rates this high, um, like I say, I don't know how those businesses can survive, right? If they're not making revenue, and um, yeah, to me, this is also another problem in the investment industry. Um, for sure, I feel like a lot of investors, whether the hedge fund guys or whoever, those venture capital guys, I think the fact that they're willing to withdraw that money that quick, they already know problems exist, right? Like those are the smart guys, like Bill Ackman and some of those guys. They already know this is a problem. So to me, that means that this is a more widespread problem, right? At least I think that way. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's just a SVB bank problem. I think those guys already know that the venture capital world is not dying but suffering, and companies are not making the money they want or returning the money as fast as they want, and so they're just burning cash here and there, and now because interest rate is so high, most of them are having problems even getting capital. So to me, it's a much bigger problem. And yeah, but I think that's why, like the Russell, right? So Monday, like I'll just go through this really quickly because to me that was the most important thing this week that happened, is the Russell was diverging from the big three, big cap, right? Nasdaq, S&P, and Dow on Monday morning. So on Monday morning, I realized that um, very early, and I noticed that Russell was going the opposite way, while Nasdaq, S&P, and Dow going the other way, was green. And I was like, that's weird. I haven't seen that in a long time. And so I think I texted you on Monday in the morning, and I said, hey, this doesn't look right. And I saw all my short-term guys, all the short-term portfolio. Like I just didn't even want to trade the market no more short-term. I saw all that. That's 40% of my portfolio. I saw it, and I was like, so I still have my longer-term ones. And then by Thursday, most of them got stopped out on Thursday morning. And then some stopped out yesterday too. So yeah, so now I'm like less around 30 something percent still invested, but who knows? They could be stopped out next week too. And so it's a very tough market to be long right now, and even to trade, I feel like it's really tough. I'm sure there's a bounce here and there, like you're gonna get one of those relief days, but I'm worried that this is a trend now, a really bear trend, until this is resolved. Like I don't think anyone will put money until this is resolved. Um, so that was a big thing for me. Like Russell, even Thursday, that was the funny thing. Thursday morning happened again. All the big cap index were green, and then Russell, for some reason, was red. It was so clear. It happened again on Thursday, and then the SVB news, I think, start to really take over by mid morning on Thursday. So and of course this is all related to that, and there's a reason for that. I think big caps are safer, right? Because they're not tied to smaller banks. Most of them are tied to bigger banks. So there's less risk in those companies for sure. And so but because the market has so much fear, it's pulling everything down. So yeah, is this a good opportunity to buy for long term? For sure. I think yeah. You know, as long as the bank can, like, as long as the Fed can resolve this, and this is not a systemic risk issue. So that's why I'm not like selling everything, right? Like otherwise I would be selling everything like immediately. Um, so right now it's just more like, hey, if it does drop, hey, whatever, like I'll hit my stop loss and get out. But if it doesn't drop, then like I'm looking for an opportunity to come back in. But I need to see the macro news, this issue resolved. To me, this is a good thing because I think the Fed finally see where it cracked, right? They finally see something crack, and now it might not like, and even Friday's job report that like I said, the wage inflation, that's already really good news. I think without the SVB news, it would have like catapult, but because of the SVB news, it went back down, right? And so to me, I feel like the market wants to rally, but it couldn't because of this lingering cloud. So as soon as this cloud is resolved or goes away, I think like market will roar. Like I really feel it. And yeah, I just like I know we don't have much time left, but like we'll go over like just a few stock, right? SMCI uh pull it back to 21 day right now. It really dropped hard on Friday. But before that, it was at the 10-day. You know, I was hoping it, the fact that Thursday reversed was really bad sign. And then Friday, it basically fell to 21 day. But it's outperforming still. So I wouldn't be surprised if it fall again all the way to 50-day. So this coming week, I would expect a little bit more turmoil. It's going to fall to 50-day. Um, and then we look at LGM. This one is still very strong. It's probably looks better than SMCI right now just because it's way further from 50-day. LSCC, this one, same thing, is still far away from 50-day. So all three stocks are hitting the 21-day. And then ANET was definitely the stronger one this week. It's still above 10-day. It really powered up the first 4 days of the week. Um, yeah, and like I say, it's probably the only one that is still in a really nice uptrend out of those four stocks that I just mentioned. So those four are all semi like computer related and chip related that I'm still holding. Other than that, everything got stopped out. The one that I took a position but got stopped out was TGLS. This one is in the building product, and Friday it really dropped. But even though it dropped on that one day, um, I still like this stock. It's just really strong earnings, and they just reported this week, so that's why I want to get in now for the longer term. But I got stopped out, so I'll have to wait for another time to enter this. Um, yeah, but other than that, um, yeah, and then like I say, IBKR, I'll have like, because that's in the financial sector. It's really hard to hold that one right now because that's just too much volatility. Um, Elf, I got stop out too. It's not acting well right now. So it's probably gonna pull back to 50 days. So most of these stocks, they're the leaders, and if the market continue to go down, they will probably pull all the way back to 50-day, and that's a little bit scary because it's not even close to it yet. So if they do pull all the way back to 50-day and bounce back from there, that would be a good entry point there. So I think we have to be more patient right now and just let the story unfold. I know some people are taking shorts and stuff, but I feel like shorting is a very risky thing right now. You sure, especially banks and stuff. I know, you can short more banks and talking about banks, like I said, a lot of them bounce back, right? Really strong on Friday, and so sure they can go down more, no doubt. A lot of people are trading it as well, but yeah, to me, I just don't want to take that risk. Anything can happen right now, but yeah, I just hope this will get resolved. That's all. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. It's really bad. Like I think so. So IBD went back to downtrend, right? The switch signal. Um. So it's not a good thing. Um. Yeah. See, and the volume is super high on Friday. That was the other thing too. So yeah. So that's like wherever you see like like IBD has a rule. They don't talk about it all the time, but this is a good example. Whenever it dropped below key moving average and close at the bottom and drop far enough below it, right? Like not just a little bit below, like it's like starting the day at the 50-day and just drop. And this is exactly what they call a vertical drop. And whenever you have that kind of drop, it usually isn't like a 1 day or 2 day thing. It's like usually the beginning of a trend. So, and that's one thing that really scares me right now is that this could be a beginning of the bear trend. And whether it'll go back down to what 10,000, I think, yeah, around 10,000. I don't know. Right now it's 11,000, 1,100. So that's like I said, 10, 11%. Same as S&P is roughly 10% to hit their previous low. So could the market drop another 10%? Sure. If this is not resolved, it will drop 10%, I think. Um, so I don't want to be long right now for sure. It's hard to hold long or take any new position, even though if the stock is fundamental is strong, because everything will get pulled down because of the macro. So but I really hope. And then Tuesday we have CPI data. I I don't think it'll be a big fact. Like I don't think it'll change much. I think it'll come in the expectation. Even if it come in like slightly higher, I don't think market will care as much anymore. Like it's not a big thing anymore. CPI. I think going forward, inflation is still going to remain high, but it's just lingering. Um, but I think this issue that something has broken, it's going to sit in Fed's mind now. It's going to be the front and center thing now because they don't want any systemic risk, right? And they're going to be modeling like everything now more on the financial side, like all the financial institution, making nothing else break, right? So I think they'll ease up on it, and that's why I feel like if they can do a good job, like I don't know, maybe it'll take them a month, and the market might correct another month, and then they'll finally resolve it. They'll come to some way of helping those banks. I don't know if they have to go to Congress, get more money. It takes time. All this stuff takes time. That's why it's not going to get resolved right away. Even if they guarantee, like in some way, like maybe they won't guarantee all the depositors. They have limited amount. Like they probably can do some amount. I don't know how much. Um, like maybe up to 20 billion. I don't know what's the amount. Okay. And I don't know what the process is involved in that. Um, but for bigger amount, like 100 billion or something, I don't know. It's some amount. They have to go to Congress. And also depends if there's always also an emergency um, that the White House can approve, like Biden can approve right away. You know what I mean? Without going through Congress if it's an emergency thing. But like I say, I'm just not confident, man, that they can resolve this fast. We'll see. It really depends on what they learn this weekend, right? Um, I don't see any buyers come in. That's why what happened with Bear Stearns, I think. No buyers came in, and uh, oh yeah, I remember now. The Fed offered them, I think $2 a share when it was like closed on Friday at like I don't remember $20 a share or something. It was like 1/10 of the dollar, and they're like, what? But well, you rather have it shut down, or do you rather have it like worth nothing, or do you rather have it worth 10 cents, or 10% of what it was, and still operate? Which one you want, right? And obviously they have no choice, so they have to take it. But that's exactly what's going to probably happen. They're going to offer them like really low amount, and they'll have to take it because they're already done. In this case, they're actually done. Like they closed it on Friday. It wasn't even like not closed yet. Like Bristol was still operating when that happened. So, so it's like I mean the Fed really could do whatever they want. I think. Um, so crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Yeah. I always feel something like that could happen, but I never imagined it could happen. You know. Um, I also thought about this, like that the startups. How did they survive? Like, where's the money coming from? The interest rate is so high. Who's lending all this money? Like, they're taking a big risk. Like, we talk about venture capitalists, right? Like, even small business. We talked about this before. Like, so many business, started in the last 2 years, and all these people borrowing all this money. Now the interest rate is so high because most interest rates are so high right now. So if they're borrowing money, how are they going to pay it back if that's why a recession, I feel like a recession right now is going to be so scary if we have a recession, um, because people are already so tight, and if you like put in a recession and people are letting go of their jobs, like honestly they won't survive because their financial status is so tight already, right? um, in Canada, Alberta will probably survive just because we don't have as much debt, because our housing is not as expensive. But in Toronto, Vancouver, like I don't know, I think a lot of people will default, in my opinion. And so That's why Canada, they have no choice really. That's what happened, right? Even though they're not supposed to be the first country to not follow the Fed, but they did because they have no choice. Because if they keep raising rates, they know people are going to default, and that will create systemic risk. And so now they're not going to do that, but their dollar sank like crazy, right? Um, you know, within 2 weeks now they have dropped like almost 4 cents now on the dollar. So it, it might drop even more going forward. It really depends, right? Like I don't know. Um, if hopefully Canada economy can still keep going, but I don't know. It's hard to say right now. But now with the U.S. thing happening, obviously the dollar jumped on Friday. But yeah, but nonetheless, I feel like Canada. I don't know. I think Canada's in a really bad situation, uh, like much worse than U.S. And the same story comes back, which is most people here are unwearable, and most people here are on wearable mortgage, and also they only have less than 5 year usually renewal. So um, so it's just lots of problems. In the U.S., most people are on fixed. I think I read a stat. It was like over 70 something percent on fixed there, and most people are on 25 or 30 year fixed. That's a long time, so they don't have to worry about anything. So but in Canada, it's like the opposite, right? So, uh, but so this will weaken our dollar, and we'll see. And hopefully, the other thing that lingers around is the whether is there a global recession, right? And China, like I think they said, right, they're only doing 5% GDP going forward, which is one of the lowest estimate in like 10 years or something. I can't remember, but it's a really low number, and so that's really bad sign too for them. Like you know, so there's lots of bad signs happening, and also like the other thing is like all the war index, even though they went up so much, for 2 3 months, um, and then now they're all falling so hard. Like it's so weird. It's like to me, this is almost starting to feel like a bear trap, and and I hate to say it, like if you go back in 2000 to 2003, what happened in between? It was the 2001 September, the attack, right, on the Twin Tower, and that sparked another year of recession. Like even though it started to recover, but it sparked another year of recession because I don't know. It's just I think a lot of business like that day, many business like kind of went down, right? And it just slowed things down. Everyone's like afraid to do business or whatever. I don't know what causes the recession, but anyhow, so many things happen. But this one is like similar, right? It's not a twin tower attack, but this is like even a bigger thing, right? A financial attack in some ways on many business, and and all these innovative companies, you know, are doing great work, and all of a sudden they have no more money and they have no more cash to operate. And who knows how long it takes them to get that money. But in between, they're going to be stopped because if you don't pay your employees, who's going to come to work, right? So yeah, scary times. Right now for me, I try not to think about all this. I just want to let it unfold, take my time, study which stock is holding up. Like some of the stocks holding up, I'm so surprised. Like Miniso, like holy cow, this stock like it even bounced on Friday. It dropped below 10 day. It bounced on like close at the top. I was like, wow, this stock is just it's the number one on the my boss capital list right now, and it's just so strong. Like I went to Miniso in West Edmonton Mall, and like I never think about this because I don't usually go there. But when I went there that day, I was like, it's just like so many items in there that are unique, and yeah, it's lots of traffic, obviously, but more importantly, I feel like people buy stuff there, and yeah, it's just they have really unique products. Is all I'm saying. So people when people see something new, they want to unique, they want to buy it because it's like you can't get it anywhere else. So and this stock is just so strong, like I can't believe it. Um, yeah, like not many stocks are holding up. This is one of them. So um, yeah, there's